The sons of God, a hidden creation. Mystery before Adam. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself a simple yet profound question? Who were the sons of God mentioned in the Bible, and why is their story hidden so deeply within the pages of Scripture? Before Adam, before humanity even came into being, the sons of God were already present in the divine narrative. Their presence in the Bible raises fascinating questions and opens up a mysterious chapter of creation that often goes overlooked. In Genesis chapter 6, 1-4, the Scriptures describe a strange and unsettling event, one where the sons of God come down from heaven and take human wives, creating a lineage of giants, the Nephilim. These verses alone stir up deep curiosity, leading us to wonder who these sons of God were and what their true purpose was in God's creation plan. Were they angels, divine beings, or something else entirely? The answers, my friend, are not as simple as they may seem. From the opening verses of Genesis to the poetic descriptions in Job, the Bible reveals these beings in ways that leave us pondering their nature and their role. But what if I told you that the sons of God existed before the creation of Adam? What if these beings were involved in a much larger cosmic drama, far before the fall of man, before the garden, before the first sin, and before the first human beings walked the earth? In this video, we're going to embark on a journey to uncover the hidden mystery of the sons of God, stretching our minds beyond the confines of our everyday understanding of creation. We'll go beyond the surface-level interpretations and explore what the Scriptures, both known and obscure, reveal about these ancient beings. We'll examine the theological significance of their actions and their place in God's eternal plan. We'll explore how the sons of God fit into the divine council and what their role might have been in shaping the world before Adam's fall. You see, it's easy to get caught up in the stories of the patriarchs and prophets, but the world they lived in was just a small chapter in a much greater story, a story that spans before creation, through the fall, and all the way to the cross of Jesus Christ. Understanding the sons of God before Adam opens up a breathtaking perspective of God's sovereign will and purpose for all creation. But we're not just going to delve into these ancient verses for intellectual knowledge. The message embedded in the story of the sons of God has profound implications for us today. It speaks to the very heart of our relationship with the Creator, the cosmic battle between good and evil, and the ultimate redemption of humanity through Christ. So, let's take a step back in time. Before the Garden of Eden, before the fall, and before Adam's breath was first drawn, let's open the door to a mysterious realm of divine beings, heavenly councils, and cosmic mysteries that have remained hidden for centuries. As we uncover the truths about the sons of God, you may just find yourself seeing the world and your place in it in a whole new light. Are you ready? Let's begin the journey into the depths of creation. Part 1. The Sons of God in the Book of Genesis. We begin this mysterious journey with one of the most intriguing passages in the Bible, found in Genesis chapter 6, 1-4. These verses introduce us to the sons of God in a context that has puzzled theologians and scholars for centuries. The passage reads, "When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, 'My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown.'" Genesis 6, 1-4, NIV. Now, at first glance, these verses seem cryptic, don't they? We are introduced to these mysterious sons of God who take human wives and father the Nephilim, giants who are described as the heroes of old. But who exactly are these sons of God? And why does this strange union between divine beings and humans lead to such a catastrophic result? Many have speculated about the identity of these sons of God, and several interpretations have emerged. The most popular, and arguably the most traditional interpretation, is that these sons of God were angels. In the ancient Jewish understanding, angels were often seen as heavenly beings with significant authority and power, but they were also seen as possessing a spiritual nature distinct from that of humans. This interpretation aligns with the idea that these angels somehow left their heavenly domain and took human wives, creating a hybrid race, the Nephilim. But is this the full story? Was it just angels rebelling against God's order, taking wives from the daughters of men and creating a race of giants? While this interpretation certainly has its place, we must also consider the possibility that the sons of God are something different altogether. In some ancient traditions and other parts of Scripture, the term sons of God refers not to angels, but to beings with a unique divine status. For example, in Job 1:6, the sons of God appear before the Lord in the heavenly court. They are not described as angels in the conventional sense, but as beings who are part of God's divine council, acting as his representatives in the heavenly realm. Could it be that these sons of God were not just angels, but also a separate class of divine beings who had a hand in the shaping of the earth, even before Adam? We also must grapple with the deeper implications of this passage. The fact that the sons of God are said to have taken human wives suggests that there was something very unique about their nature. These were not mere beings of a spiritual realm. They were part of God's divine plan for creation. But why would these beings, who were in the heavenly realms, engage in such a controversial act? And why would God intervene with the judgment of the flood shortly after this event? Something larger was at play, something that was beginning to distort the original creation order. This brief mention in Genesis raises more questions than answers, but it also sets the stage for understanding a larger cosmic conflict that existed before humanity walked the earth. It hints at the idea that God's creation was not simply limited to the earth as we know it. Instead, it points to a deeper, more complex reality, one in which divine beings, the sons of God, played a critical role before the world was fully formed. Part 2. Who were the sons of God before Adam? If we move beyond the immediate mystery of Genesis 6, we need to dig deeper into the identity of the sons of God before Adam's creation. We have seen that they existed in some form before the events in Genesis, but who exactly were they, and what role did they play in God's plan? To understand this, we must explore the larger biblical context and examine the pre-Adamic world. According to the Scriptures, the earth as we know it was not the first version of creation. In fact, the Bible suggests that there was a divine order that preceded the creation of human beings. We catch glimpses of this in several other passages, especially in the poetic language of the book of Job. In Job 38, 4-7, God speaks to Job from the whirlwind, challenging his understanding of creation. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me, if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. Job 38, 4-7, NIV. Here, we see a picture of creation that is vastly different from the way we usually think of it. The morning stars and the angels were already present when God laid the foundation of the earth. These beings, often understood as part of God's heavenly council, were witnesses to the creation process, even before Adam or Eve were made. This passage reveals something profound. The sons of God were not just present on earth after Adam was created, but they had a role in the cosmic drama that unfolded in the heavens before the foundations of the world. In fact, in Job chapter 1:6, we read about a scene in the heavenly courts where the sons of God present themselves before the Lord, and among them is Satan. This reference shows that these sons of God were not limited to any one particular time in history, but were, in fact, eternal beings who existed alongside God before the creation of Adam. They had an established role in the divine council, a group of heavenly beings who served as representatives of God's will and plan. The fact that they were part of this divine council tells us something significant about their nature. These sons of God were not mere angels or spirit beings. They were part of God's governance of the universe. They had a hand in the creation of the world, witnessing it, and perhaps even participating in it. Their presence in the heavenly courts also reveals that they were engaged in matters that went beyond earthly concerns. They were directly involved in the unfolding of God's eternal purposes, which stretched far beyond the human realm. This understanding expands the scope of the sons of God. They were not just entities waiting in the wings of creation, but active participants in the unfolding drama of existence. Whether they were angelic beings, spiritual authorities, or something else entirely, they had a unique position in the heavenly realms and the cosmic order. The mystery of who the sons of God truly are continues to elude us in many ways, but one thing is clear: they existed before Adam and played an integral role in God's plans. They were not just passive spectators of creation, but were involved in ways we can only begin to understand. Their story, as we will see in the following parts, is a crucial piece in the puzzle of God's creation mystery, one that leads us to a deeper understanding of the cosmos, the fall of man, and ultimately, the redemption found in Jesus Christ. Part 3. The Sons of God and the Nephilim. When we turn back to Genesis 6:4, we encounter a troubling but fascinating detail: the Nephilim. These heroes of old are the offspring of the union between the sons of God and the daughters of men. The passage reads, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." Genesis 6:4, NIV. The Nephilim were described as giants, mighty beings who were renowned for their strength and ability. Some translations call them heroes of old. But what exactly does that mean? What was their significance? And why did this particular union between divine beings and human women lead to such extraordinary and, in many ways, destructive results? The fact that the Bible mentions the Nephilim in this context suggests that they were not ordinary humans. They were the products of a divine-human interaction, a blending of the spiritual and the physical in a way that was unprecedented and unnatural. The Nephilim's size and strength were likely symbolic of their extraordinary origin, and their presence on earth was a dramatic break from the natural order established by God. For many centuries, the Nephilim have been a topic of intense debate. Some see them as fallen angels who were involved in an illicit act of rebellion, while others interpret them as a hybrid race, part human, part divine. This hybrid interpretation suggests that the sons of God, in their desire to intermarry with human women, were not only crossing the boundaries of creation, but were also attempting to corrupt it. This idea leads to a deeper theological question. Was the creation of the Nephilim part of God's plan, or was it an act of rebellion that needed to be corrected? The flood, which followed soon after the appearance of the Nephilim, provides a possible answer. In Genesis 6:5-7, we read that God saw the wickedness of humanity and the corruption of the earth and decided to send a great flood to cleanse the world. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, "I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them." Genesis 6:5-7, NIV. This passage strongly suggests that the corruption of creation, partially influenced by the Nephilim, was a direct cause for God's judgment. The Nephilim represented a deviation from God's original design, a blend of the heavenly and the earthly that disrupted the created order. While the Nephilim's existence may be seen as a tragic result of the sons of God overstepping their boundaries, it also signals the beginning of God's redemptive story. The flood was not just an act of judgment, it was the beginning of God's plan to restore and protect creation. Through Noah, God preserved a remnant that would carry on his purpose for the earth and begin again. But what is the significance of the Nephilim for us today? The presence of the Nephilim in the pre-flood world serves as a warning. It shows us the dangers of crossing boundaries established by God, of seeking to blend the divine and human in ways that are not in accordance with His will. It also reminds us of the consequences of corruption and rebellion, but perhaps most importantly, it points forward to the ultimate restoration that will come through Christ. The story of the Nephilim and the judgment that followed is a small but vital part of the larger redemption story that is fulfilled in Jesus. Part 4. The Heavenly Council and the Sons of God. To understand the full role of the sons of God before Adam, we must take a step deeper into the heavenly realm and consider the divine council. Throughout Scripture, we are given glimpses of a heavenly court, a divine assembly in which God presides, and in which various divine beings participate in the governance of creation. The sons of God are often mentioned in connection with this heavenly council, showing us that they were not merely passive observers in creation, but active participants in God's unfolding plan. In Psalm 82, we read a powerful description of this divine council, where God stands in judgment over the gods or divine beings who are meant to rule over the earth with justice. God presides in the great assembly. He gives judgment among the gods. How long will you defend the unjust and show partiality to the wicked, defend the weak and the fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed, rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them from the hand of the wicked? The gods know nothing, they understand nothing. They walk about in darkness, all the foundations of the earth are shaken. Psalm 82, 1-5, NIV. In this psalm, the sons of God, often referred to as gods in the ancient Hebrew context, are called to account for their failure to administer justice and uphold righteousness. This passage highlights the role of the heavenly beings in governing the earth, an important role that God entrusted to them. However, the psalmist also shows how these beings failed in their duties, leading to the corruption of the earth. In Job 1:6 and 38:7, we see similar references to the sons of God in the heavenly courts. In the first, they present themselves before God in a sort of celestial assembly, with Satan among them. In the latter, the sons of God are described as singing for joy as they witness the creation of the earth. These references underscore the idea that the sons of God were not just passive participants, but played an active role in God's cosmic plan. They were part of the divine council, serving as God's representatives and taking part in decisions concerning the world. The heavenly council and the sons of God also shed light on the larger cosmic dimension of creation. Their involvement in the heavenly realms points to a governance system that transcends the human world. They were part of God's divine order, which is established not only in the heavens but also on the earth. This divine council existed before humanity and played a key role in ensuring that creation aligned with God's purposes. When the sons of God failed in their mission, it led to cosmic disarray, culminating in the flood that sought to restore order. The role of the sons of God in the divine council emphasizes an important point. Humanity was never meant to be the sole focus of God's creation. There was a larger heavenly dimension at work, one in which divine beings were entrusted with ruling, guiding, and protecting the world. These beings had a purpose that extended beyond the earth, reaching into the very fabric of the cosmos. Understanding the heavenly council helps us grasp the broader scope of God's plan for creation. The sons of God were part of this plan long before Adam and Eve were created. Their fall from grace and failure to fulfill their purpose would have far-reaching consequences, but it also sets the stage for the redemption that would come through Christ, a redemption that would restore not only humanity, but all of creation. Part 5. The Sons of God, Jesus Christ, and the Restoration of Creation. Now, as we look deeper into the mystery of the sons of God and their role before Adam, it becomes clear that they were not only part of creation's beginning, but also part of a divine plan that would unfold throughout human history. And it is this divine plan that leads us to the most profound revelation of all, the coming of Jesus Christ, the true Son of God. But how does Christ, the ultimate Son of God, connect with the sons of God from before creation. From the very beginning, Jesus was central to God's plan for the universe. In John 1:1-3, we learn that Jesus, the Word, was with God in the beginning, and that through him all things were made. Before the foundations of the earth, Christ was present, and he was the agent of creation. This foundational truth places Christ in a unique position. He is not only the Son of God, but also the one who created everything, including the sons of God. The sons of God were part of God's heavenly council, involved in overseeing creation and participating in God's governance of the world. However, they were still part of a created order, not equal to God himself. In contrast, Jesus Christ is the eternal Son of God, fully divine and fully human, who comes to restore creation to its intended order. As we look at the role of the sons of God before Adam, we also see that their fall, whether through the corruption of their heavenly purpose or their involvement with the daughters of men, set the stage for God's redemptive work through Jesus. The sons of God fell, but Christ, the true Son, came to redeem not only humanity, but also the broken creation. Jesus came to restore what had been lost and to bring back the order that had been disrupted in the heavenly realms and on earth. Christ's ultimate victory over sin, death, and the powers of darkness was a victory over all the forces, both human and divine, that sought to corrupt and destroy creation. In Colossians 1:19-20, Paul writes, "For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross." Colossians 1:19-20, NIV. This passage beautifully encapsulates the cosmic scope of Christ's work. Through Jesus' death and resurrection, God not only reconciles humanity, but also restores all things in heaven and on earth. The sons of God, who were part of creation from the beginning, had fallen, but through Christ, God would restore not just humanity, but all of creation to its original glory. Jesus, the true Son of God, is the key to understanding the purpose of the sons of God before Adam. His incarnation, death, and resurrection fulfill the divine plan that was set in motion before time began. Jesus is the answer to the mysteries of creation, the restoration of the heavenly council, and the ultimate redemption of the world. Through him, everything, both the heavenly beings and earthly creatures, will be reconciled to God. The sons of God, in their failure and in their role in the heavenly court, pointed us forward to Christ, who would redeem and restore all things. Conclusion. As we journey through this mystery, we have explored the enigmatic sons of God, beings who existed before Adam, before humanity, before the Garden of Eden. From the heavenly realms to the earth, the sons of God played an integral role in the divine governance of creation. They were part of a larger cosmic drama that transcended the earthly realm, but their involvement in the corruption of creation led to a divine judgment. The birth of the Nephilim, the giants born of their union with human women, was the fruit of a twisted plan, a plan that God would ultimately correct through the flood. But the story doesn't end with judgment. The fall of the sons of God pointed to the need for restoration, something that would come through Jesus Christ, the true Son of God. In him, we see the fulfillment of God's plan to redeem not just humanity, but the entire cosmos. Jesus, who existed before creation, came to reconcile all things to himself, heavenly beings and earthly creatures alike. As we reflect on this mystery, we are reminded that God's purposes are far greater than we often imagine. The story of the sons of God reveals a world that is more complex and far-reaching than the one we see with our eyes. It also reveals the magnitude of God's redemptive plan, which reaches across time, space, and eternity. Through Christ, the brokenness of creation will be healed, and the world will be restored to its intended order. The sons of God were part of God's original creation, but through Christ we are now invited into the family of God, becoming sons and daughters by adoption. Ephesians 1:5. The redemption that began with the first Son, Jesus Christ, will one day bring about the full restoration of all things, including the world of the sons of God. So, as we close this journey into the hidden mysteries of creation, let us look to Christ, the true Son, who came to restore not only humanity, but all of creation. And let us remember that the story of the sons of God points us to the ultimate reality. God is in control, His plan is eternal, and through Christ all things, whether in heaven or on earth, will be reconciled to Him. Let us embrace this profound truth, for it is in Christ that we find our true identity and our place in God's cosmic plan.